On contention 1, they say the EU decreases escalation, and yet there's no doubt that this alliance creation can be viewed by countries excluded, like China and Russia, as an intimidation method. This will only be reason for nations that are excluded and actively demonized by these joined nations to want to rebuke more due to difference in ideals. At some point, retaliation will no doubt occur amongst these countries, especially within the Middle East, having been utilized as a battleground and reduced to nothing more with no concern for the people in the land of the area. And to bring in more allies, such as Finland and Sweden, is an alliance taking possible allies from an already alliance-served nation, that is Russia, which is in the midst of a war, thus taking away their own possible influence in the Arctic and deterring Russia from wanting peace at all. This comparison of who has more allies is something the great power competition creates in its attempts to find the best nations, which creates an exclusionary method that will do more harm than good. They say Iran isn't looking to create conflict because of a lack of interest in developing an atomic bomb. Because of this, it's safe to assume that they understand the possible risks that come alongside it, considering how willing the United States and its alliance forces are in jeopardizing the safety of Iranian citizens during the onset of 9/11. It is clear that the U.S. has little to zero concern for them as people comparative to their own. Iran has no intent to attack unless provoked, as the case with many countries, but American apathy has taken it to the point that it may become the main source of provocation. For in the United States' lust to become the political and economic influence across the globe, we've basically trampled other nations, like Iran, to get where we need and want to be. Disregarding their own needs in favor of our own is a type of selfishness that the system of the great power competition promotes, for in competition there can only be one winner. Another thing they say is, peace among the great power competition has stood for quite a while, a statement that is completely irrelevant with the current argument. Sure, this has been the case, but the past cannot accurately replicate or provide an example of future events due to growing tensions and resentments among countries that simply cannot be denied. Retaliation in the form of physical disputes is imminent, and its detrimental impacts down the line are as well due to differences in political opinions. In not providing all nations the opportunity they want, they'll take the matter into their own hands, in such promoting a system of competition between these countries. In most cases, competition sparks conflict. After all, who has the most resources, allies, etc.? That's what the great power competition represents, whether it's for unipolarity or multipolarity. Those who are ranked lower will find it in themselves and their people to get those things for themselves, something that, undoubtedly, will have horrid consequences. On contention 2, they've said Biden's challenge to overcome United States credibility up with other nations, thus promoting the United States' own influence within the great power competition. This system influences and empowers feelings of aggression due to lack and want of allies for individual nations, thus making the cooperation sought impossible to achieve. Cooperation works when countries are in sync with one another, and the great power competition promotes anything but that. The demonization and villainization and overall exclusionary tactics that are being used by the United States and its allies to form a community that excludes others does nothing but ruin the chances of having a cooperative world. In order to achieve true, genuine cooperation, big nations like China that bolster these issues need to be treated like allies rather than enemies, ostracized solely for the purposes of boosting alliances with other contrasting countries. This action could be the thing that contains even the aggression of a nation like China, allowing the United States to be seen as much more of an approachable and less offensive alliance to have in the perspective of nations and its attempting to appease to. In doing this, alliances and influences can be achieved through working together rather than trampling other countries to get where they need to be. Okay, I did record it. That was a very long speech.